Welcome to Lecture 30 of the lecture series Psychology of Well-Being. Well, this lecture is focused on trauma and well-being of children affected by human-made disasters. The important lesson that we are going to learn, or the important areas that we are going to cover here, is how during the post-Godhra riots, or in the aftermath of the post-Godhra riots in Gujarat, India, that took place in 2002, how the children were how the children went through the experience of distress or trauma and also could have a sense of well-being despite such distress or trauma. We'll be systematically going through such insights with the help of these elements of focus. We'll begin with disaster trauma in children and various paradigms or perspectives on that. Then from there, we'll move on to post-Godhra riots, the context of that, and the study of internally displaced children by myself. That was published in 2012. And then discussion and policy implications with the help of the insights from that study. Well, disaster trauma, particularly for children, may be understood through diverse paradigm, one of which is trauma reactions or psychological reactions to the traumatic events. And these have been studied keeping in mind the limited cognitive and expressive language skills among children of below 8 years of age. And the revisions have been proposed in the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, keeping in mind the fact that there are evidences for disturbances in peer and social relationships, moral development, and conscience functioning as adverse psychological outcomes of disasters for children. Well, post disaster suffering and healing has also been understood from an ecological perspective. While experiences of suffering and healing are taken to be contextualized in the socio-historical, socio-political context, it's important within that to note the roles played by aspects of ecosystem that includes macrosystem consisting consisting of the beliefs and values of the culture, for example, religious beliefs and values. Exosystem consisting of aspects of community in which the family lives, for example, level of violence or level of positive parental involvement. And microsystem comprised by the immediate settings in which the child receives social emotional support, for example, family and school. Well, internally displaced children of post-Godhra riots. Let's look at the historical context. On February 27, 2002, one compartment in an Ahmedabad-bound train was set on fire allegedly by Muslim individuals, killing 21 men, 26 women, and 12 children who were primarily of Hindu religion. After a month of carnage, 2,000 Muslims had died, 2,500 more were reported to be missing, lakhs of individuals were displaced, and property worth crores of rupees had been destroyed. The objectives of this study conducted by me included the understanding of the experiences of trauma, reactions, and suffering of rights affected internally displaced children in Gujarat, and to understand the experiences of support and healing that might be generated through the relationships and value education such children were receiving. Well, methodology included importance of generating children's narratives. When I also utilized what Jung proposed and illustrated as the word association test, the response of which can be taken as conversational text. Let's remind ourselves that Carl Jung was a psychoanalyst who believed in trying to understand the inner world or psyche of the person with the help of such projective techniques where the internal emotions of the persons or complexes, which are network of ideas bound by a common set of emotions, can be understood, and that is something which was also utilized in this particular study. Furthermore, draw and tell conversation technique used by Martha Resnick was also utilized, where the child's drawing acts as a transitional space in which feelings can be externalized into concrete form and are reconstructed in conversation with the researcher. In this technique, a child is asked to think about the time when he or she experienced an intense emotion. The participants included, while keeping in mind their better verbal and written communicability of such of the students of grade 4 and 5 from Meghdhanush schools at Halol and Kalol blocks of Panchmahal districts. Altogether, 102 Muslim children participated. Age range of the students was 7.5 to 9.5 years, out of which 45 were from Halol and 57 from Kalol. These students lived in the colonies for internally displaced people. Some participants were also displaced people living in other parts of the towns. All the students had witnessed violent mobs, and some of them had seen killings and sexual assault during the carnage. Well, the words that were used in word association test included mother, separate, love, you, home, fear, India, alone, we, danger or threat, happy, religion. The procedure included children being told to first draw their own image in the top half of the blank sheet given to them, and then the image of any other person which came to their mind in the bottom half. There was no time limit for the drawing task, but all children took less than 15 minutes to complete it. After the drawing task, the children were given another activity to participate in, and that was word association test. Drawing of 5 children selected for draw and tell conversation based on the consensus among their teachers about their perceived differences between the images of self and other. Responses of 85 children out of total 202 were clear, readable responses to word association test, and these were also interpretable. So these were utilized for analysis. Well, the drawings selected for draw and tell conversations were, one can clearly see the difference between the image of oneself in the top half and image of any other person in the bottom half. For example, here in this drawing, the child's own image is that of crying, and that of any other person is being happy. And the image of other is a bit bigger. And for example, questions were asked to the child so as to make him or her reflect on the activities that these drawings are all about. What was the child doing in the as far as his or her own image in the top half of the page is concerned, and what was the child in the bottom half of the, or what was the person doing in the bottom half of the drawing. So this led to quite a bit of open conversation related to their own lives, lives of others around them, the differences between their own experiences and those of others not belonging to their community, the aspects of resources or the kind of resources available to them and to other community. So such conversations were possible with the help of this draw and tell conversation technique, where the child had to first draw one's own image on the top half and then any other person's image in the bottom half, and a conversation could be initiated with the help of initially a description and then an explanation of what's really happening in these drawings. Similarly, here is another example of the drawing selected for draw and tell conversation technique. Top half, the child's own image. Bottom half, the image of any other person. Here in the bottom half, we find there is this image of uh, father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Here one can see top half, the child's own drawing, child's own image rather, and bottom half is the image of any other person who appears to be stronger than himself or herself. Here is another example where top half is child's own image and bottom half is the image of any other person. Similarly here also. Now, so these images were, as I mentioned earlier, utilized for further conversation so that some insights could be developed about the experiences of children in the aftermath of violence. Well, constructionist grounded theory was utilized to analyze such narratives. The such analysis requires explication of epistemological and meta-theoretical framework adopted in the study. The epistemological position adopted for the present study was that of constructionism, and meta-theoretical framework for analysis was a combination of biopsychosocial model and ecological framework of post-disaster suffering and healing. Well, results were about categories of experiences of trauma, reactions, and suffering. We'll be going into the details of this very soon, but let's first of all look at the category names. The first one, fear and threat, then avoidance and sleep disturbance, loneliness, feeling of separation from loved ones, deprivation. And the categories of healing included openness to relationship across religious boundaries, having support through relatedness, guided by religious values, harmonious thoughts and experiences, having a benevolent role model, and openness to relationship across religious boundaries. Let's look into the details of experiences of fear and threat. Well, one child studying in grade 4 talked about these. I am frightened during night, I am caught in danger. Another child talks about, I feel frightened. There is danger here, we shall get caught. Then, experiences of post traumatic stress symptoms. Let us understand that all such fear and threat again tells us something about the context in which they were living in the aftermath of riots. So, again, fear and threat of being caught could be one plausible way the distress could be understood regarding such children's experiences. And then experiences of post-traumatic stress symptoms. So one of the children studying in grade 5 shared, I was playing with my friends in the field nearby my colony, and suddenly a dog came in front of me. I was very much afraid of it. I just ran to keep away from it and finally reached a higher place where I could save myself. He also shared, when I'm alone, I get frightened because of the incidents of carnage come to my mind. People were hiding behind a shop, but they were caught and killed. I was hiding behind another shop. They could not kill us because they did not see us there. I'm not able to sleep at night whenever this incident comes to my mind. When asked about what he does when he is reminded of the incident, he said, I just rush to my friends and then I forget about all those things. When it is dark, my mother takes me home from there. Experience of loneliness. Well, the other responses, that of crying, that of I do not like being alone. Another child sharing, after the school, everyone at home is busy in some work. I want to talk to my friends. I feel sad being alone at home. Feeling of separation from loved ones and sense of deprivation. So a child talks about it. I got separated from my friend. We got separated from mother. One child also shared during draw and tell conversation his feelings of relative deprivation. I am not as strong as others. I am weak. Now we do not have houses like theirs for Hindu friends. Having support through relatedness. And here are the responses. I do not like sitting separately. We are together. You are happy. You and we are together. Similar positive feelings associated with togetherness were shared by children in draw and tell conversation. And one of the children shared, I feel good being with my friends. I enjoy with them at both the places, school and playground, but I do not like being alone at home. Guided by religious values, unlike some children who responded by writing their religion's name in response to stimulus word religion, the following children comparatively showed internalization of religious values rather than just the religious identity that are represented in their response to word association test. Well, we have to follow our religion. That's one of the responses. Then another one, we follow the path of religion. And then harmonious thoughts and experiences as the child expressed. Children's narrative showed positive and enabling thoughts and experiences that might help them in giving a new meaning to life after the traumatic event and help them in channelizing their energies in a positive direction. The following responses from WAT highlight the same. Shared love, mother and grandmother work well at home, migrate India, good news. Then benevolent role models. The narratives from draw and tell conversations showed the experience of having role models who are of helping or benevolent nature. One of the children shared, he is Gandhiji Bapu, father of the nation. He was a good man, he helped everyone. He made the country independent. I want to be like Gandhiji Bapu because he helped everyone. I want to help everyone. Another child shared, I want to be like Mahesh Bhai, his teacher. He is very good. He also plays with us. We all like him. Another child said, I want to be a nurse. She helps others. Another child said, I want to be a teacher like Mahesh Bhai. He is good and helps us when we are not able to learn. And then openness to relationship across religious boundaries. The narratives from Draw and Tell conversation also showed the enabling experience of openness to relationship with pre-trauma Hindu friends. The child shared, yes, I miss playing with them. I want to go back amongst them. We used to have very good time together. Yes, but my father wants to stay here only. I have some very good friends there. Another child shared, I used to play with my Hindu friends. Now also I shall play with them if I live with them again. Another child shared, yes, I have some good Hindu friends. If we go back to our village again, I shall play with them. Another child mentioned, even if they killed many people, I would still play with my old Hindu friends because they did not do anything wrong. Because they did not do anything wrong. The kids did not do anything wrong. Well, what insights do we develop out of these various aspects of findings related to the children's distress and healing processes? First one is the understanding about trauma reaction and suffering, various categories of suffering that we looked into. Then healing as facilitated by relationship and cultural values. That's another important thing that we learned. And the psychosocial interventions that could be possible. Therapeutic teaching that utilizes text literature and art to stimulate emotional expression. Because we could see that out of the diagram that they drew, much of the insights could be developed with the help of communication or description and explanation that the child provided regarding or related to such images that they themselves drew. Steps to be taken by the government and the policymakers to ensure integration of psychosocial intervention with social reconstruction and economic development, which has been pointed out by various scholars and researchers of disaster mental health or the study of well-being and mental health in the post-disaster setting. Furthermore, subsequent to Public Health Security and Bioterrorism Preparedness and Response Act of 2002, the United States now recognizes that the children are more susceptible to the untoward consequence of disasters because of a host of special circumstances, including biological and psychological vulnerability and direct addressing of unique needs of children and families. In India, our constitution has to provide space for a policy where urgently required help for children in post-disaster situation is ensured. Such a need cannot be overlooked in any national public health system. Thank you very much.